Hey guys, welcome back to my channel सुनो कहानी. So we were reading Lallan Sweets. तो आज हम पढ़ेंगे chapter 17. So let's start. Ludhiana's Vatika's banquet hall was decked up and abuzz. People strolled in wearing shimmery sarees and neat shirts, greeting everyone, trying to sneak a look at the participants list at the reception. Old Hindi music played in the background. The city who had turned up to watch the very exciting senior Mrs. Ludhiana and the famous rivalry that would play out on a public platform, though Miss and Mrs. Ludhiana were better attended event. This one had its own charm. Old ladies dressed in chanderi saris walked around with a dignity, some of them coming up to me as I stood next to Rupi Masi, telling me that they were a former Mrs. Ludhiana or a runner. Just like Rupi Masi, I nodded and smiled patiently at them, but had something else on my mind. Since my family was not allowed in the dressing room, and there was still some time, I had a plan to head back to the house and search Rupi Masi's kitchen in peace. This was the best chance I could get. When both Rupi Masi and uncle would be busy here, someone tapped me on a shoulder. Both Masi and I turned. A man with a glasses and a slight hunch stood with a notepad and pen in one hand, the other extended towards her. Jasprit Singh from Ludhiana Times. Care to talk for you? 2 minutes. I raised my eyebrows as Masi settled her hair. I had no idea Senior Mrs. Ludhiana was such a serious business. Rupi ji, many congratulations on being here. I am sure you will perform well. I would like to ask you a couple of questions for the newspaper if that's all right. Masi nodded. Looked like it was much more than all right. Sources tell me that you will be presenting your best Kathak performance, the one from the annual show in 1991, from which the governor had given you a prize to beat your own sister in the pageant. Is it true? Rupi Masi suddenly looked uncomfortable. What? I mean, of course, I will give my best. It is a competition after all, but I am also competing against other beautiful women, not just my sister. Well, word on the street is, and I have to say, I am inclined to believe it that two of you will be the finals, and this is the revenge you have planned for your sister beating just many years ago. Rupi Masi looks positively hurt. Yes, it's true that she beat me many years ago, but isn't a competition. Someone has to win, someone has to lose. Senior Mrs. Ludhiana is a contest to get the ladies out of the house to show their skills and beauty and grace. It's an excuse to come together and celebrate the senior ladies, not to pit them against each other for gossip. But this obviously is a rivalry. The entire city is waiting to watch. Rupi Masi mouth fell upon as she stared at him first and then at me, as if I could offer some logic for what he had said. I had nothing though, and Rupi Masi walked away. I didn't think that what she had done was the best tactic to change the impression people had about her. But I followed her nonetheless and asked what the problem was. The problem? Come on, Tara. Why should people be allowed to think that I am doing this to take revenge from Kanu? But are not you? She let out the sight of disdain. A little bit, yes, but she's my sister. How can I allow people to make a mockery of our relationship and make us look like villains? This was crossing the line. I might be here because I didn't win Mrs. Ludhiana and Kanu did, but most of all, I am here for myself. Like everyone else, I nodded and sympathized, and then accompanied her to the dressing room, kissing her good luck. I will look out for you in the audience, Tara. I don't know why, but I am feeling very nervous. I assured her that she would be alright. I would be allowed to see her next during the tea break. After the first two rounds, that easily gave me more than 2 hours to head back home, search for the magic ingredient, and be back before Rupi Masi realized that I was gone. I ditched Uncle and told him I was sitting in front. Insisted I went to the very back near the exit. Once the dance performance started, I rushed out, hailed an auto, and left for the house, the keys safely in my bag. I had a map of the kitchen in my head, planning which shelves I would check first. The only thought that nagged me at me that I might miss Rupi Masi's performance. I was sure that she would look for me in the audience. I knew I could easily say that I was in the bathroom, but though continue a no at me. What if she stumbled and I was not there to cheer her on? She would lose again after months of preparation, and the relationship between Rupi Masi and Kanu Masi would be irreparably destroyed. Then I was sure Rupi Masi would not mind giving an interview like that, like the one day. I decided to hurry up and head back to the banquet hall as soon as possible. I unlocked the gate quietly, crossed the veranda past the charpais, and pushed open the door to the drawing room, which had been converted into the dance room. It was completely bare except for the little mattress in the center, on which lay two tables and some gongaros. I smiled as Rupi Masi's ta thai that come to my mind. I hurried to the kitchen and reached for the shelf that had little steel boxes containing the spices used each day. I opened each one, smelling them uncertainly. I could not tell if there was anything different about any of them, and continued pushing away thoughts of Ruby Masi waiting nervously for her turn to perform. I wondered how her dance would compare to Kunnu Masi. Minutes later, I felt completely ridiculous looking at chili powder and garam masala, but it could be anything. Had not Lalaji once said that the best sweet had a pinch of salt in it? I opened more cupboards and shelves, wondering how in the world I would recognize the magic ingredient. Lalaji had said it would reveal itself. But there was nothing being revealed there. Not to mention the risk, I hurried to the garden, taking a quick look around. But there was nothing there either. A neem tree, tulsi, pudina, mogra. Was Lalaji's suspicion unfounded? Whatever it was not in this house. I kept thinking about Rupi Masi as I locked the gate, and hailed an auto rickshaw. I entered the banquet hall just in time. Rupi Masi was up to next. The woman on stage was trying some version of Gidda, and it did not seem to be working in her favor. I smiled. This would be a great act to follow for Rupi Masi. She would absolutely kill it. When Masi came on stage and the beats of Gurunal Ismitha filled the hall, the crowd yelled, "Oh ho!" and I knew that her performance would be a hit. No matter what, it hit all the right notes with a crowd. A new age song with an old woman dancing to it. A woman known for her Kathak training. Rupi Masi was so graceful. Her hands and feet moved with the presence and adda of a classic dancer. Yet she danced to Punjabi beats to a song loved by everyone in the hall. I began clapping and hooting from the back, and the crowd followed. The Belly Sago remix had been a fabulous choice, as Rupi Masi mixed some of her mudras into the dance. When the chorus came as for the final time, almost everyone in the crowd got up, raising their fingers to do Balle Balle step. It might easily have been the most exciting performance Vatika had ever seen. When she finally stopped and the song ended, the burst into thunderous applause. I knew the crown was ours. Until Kanumasi come on stage, I always underestimated Rohit and Mohit in matters of strategy, and that was my Achilles heel. So when it was Kanu Masi's time on stage, I was certain that nothing could match Rupi Masi's performance. Then her song come on, and I felt something tugging at my heart. I could see the same happening to everyone else, as it was not just Kanu Masi on stage but also her husband. The beats of Aajkal Tere Mere Pyar Ke Charche in Mohammed Rafi's mellifluous voice flowed from the speakers. Both Kanu Masi and Uncle fell into a well-rehearsed routine. They moved with confidence, and Uncle even went down on his knees to Seren Kanumasi. She was wearing a pink sari exactly like Mumtaz Hell. Uncle even had a trumped like Sami Kapoor. They were cute, they were vulnerable, vulnerable, and they were old. Their dance was not as fantastic as Rupi Masi's, but I saw a smile on the face of every member of the audience, a wistful look that seemed to wonder if they too could dance the same way with their partners. That's when I knew that they had not just given us a performance to compete with, they had won the round, because a good love story always wins. Rupi Masi had been the epitome of grace and beauty, but her performance fell slightly short of Kanu's Masi's. I clapped along with everyone else as their performance ended. I was, of course, tense. The next round was pretty ordinary and didn't offer Rupi Masi much scope to gain an advantage. It was a basic sari trying competition that went without any hitches. I chewed on my nails, wondering what would happen. The final round would decide everything. During the tea break, Rupi Masi didn't emerge from the dressing room. I went inside, straight to the bathrooms, and found one locked. Rupi Masi, I know you are inside. Come on, let me in. She did let me in. She seemed to be in a shock. Her eyebrows furrowed. She sat on the toilet seat, her head in her hands. It was evident that she was tense. I balanced myself on the floor, placing my hand on her shoulder. Come on, Masi, you can't give up, not now. She finally looked up straight at me. I did everything, practiced so much, and I am going to lose again. I gripped her hand tightly as she kept repeating she would lose. I was at loss for words for a few minutes, but then managed to pull myself together. Masi, I held her by the shoulders. So, what if we lose? So what? She looked at me like I had forgotten what was at stake. Then I am a loser, a woman who tries so hard but still loses. A woman who has been painted a villain in the entire city because she wants to beat her innocent sister in a harmless, fun-filled contest who is so vengeful apparently. Marcy, if you lose, the only thing you stand to gain is winning something else. Tell me what happened when you lost Mrs. Ludhiana. I lost relationships. A sister lost my self-respect. Marcy, no. What did you gain? You threw yourself into learning Kathak. Look what happened after that. You become the most accomplished, the most popular Kathak teacher across the city. When someone thinks of the Kathak here, they think of you. So tell me, how does it matter that you lost if the loss led you to winning so much else? Does not the best win emerge from a loss? Losing Mrs. Ludhiana might have been the best thing that ever happened to you, don't you think? She took a deep breath, got up, straightened up her sari, and pursed her lips. Let's go for a tea, she said. I followed her uncertainly, but she seemed all right, greeting everyone as if she had not just had a meltdown in the bathroom. Before the tea break, the three final contests had been announced. Rupi Masi, Kanu Masi, and another lady who, in my opinion, didn't stand much of chance. It was her turn as soon as the third round began. She had to answer a question about who her role model was. Kanu Masi did better when she was asked if she believed in friendship. Everyone wanted this rivalry to play out on stage. When Rupi Masi came on stage, I was waiting with bated breath. The question of her was, if you could go back in time and tell a younger you something, what would that be? Rupi Masi smiled widely, as if the answer was at the tip of her tongue. I would tell a younger me, Rupi, stay calm, look around. What does it matter? This or that? These little material things, these irrelevant validations you hold so close to your heart. What does it matter? I would tell the younger Rupi that life is a traitor, that things go to dust, and that the tide of luck changes in a matter of seconds. There is only one thing that stays, your family. There is only one thing that matters, your family. Only one thing that will stay through all the dust and glitter, your family. I held my breath as Kanu Masi came running onto the stage and hugged her sister. The crowd erupted in wild cheer. The judges told their scores after the round. They praised all the contestants and spoke little about the competition. Finally, they announced the winner. It was Rupi Masi. She went on stage to receive the crown but didn't wear it. Instead, she shared it with the Kanu Masi. I clapped my hands and looked at Rohit and Mohit, who seemed shocked. Was this done on purpose to hold a mirror up to us, shows us what we were doing wrong? Was this the message of our journey, that we must not spend years fighting with each other? I could not imagine a better plan to teach us this lesson, but I was still very confused. Lalaji pit us against each other and asked us to compete. It's true that we had our share of troubles, but could not he just tell us to sort it out instead of putting us through this complicated plan? When Rupi Masi finally stepped off the stage, I rushed to her as people swarmed around her to offer congratulations. What was that? I muttered. Oh, you were right, Tara, she whispered with tears in her eyes. So what if I lost? I had lost. The only thing I truly lost was my sister. I have won so much now, and I only have you to thank. I stared at her, more confused than ever, as she walked towards Uncle. It's good thing that Rohit and Mohit looked as confused as me, or I would have assumed it was one of their clever plans to drill me. All members of the audience wanted to meet Rupi Masi and Kannu Masi separately too and congratulate them. The Ludhiana Times journalist conducted a half an hour interview with both of them together, while Rohit and Mohit and I waited in silence, sneakily looking at each other. None of us knew what this meant for us. I knew that they too had not managed to find the magic ingredient. What the hell happened? I asked them, breaking the silence. They shook their heads. When we saw both the uncles smiling and talking to each other, I was convinced that what we had seen was not trust. Rupi Masi had realized that futility of the silly rivalry had let it go. Once the journalist left, we flanked both Masis and kept other people at bay. Will you forgive me, dear sister? Because if you don't, I would not know how to live with the guilt. Kanu Masi asked Rupi Masi. Both of them burst into tears and hugged. I felt very embarrassed and turned to Rohit and Mohit. They too seemed uncertain. Don't worry, Rupi Masi said, looking at us. Everyone takes their own time. But honestly, now is not the time to preach. We must go and eat something. Oh, stop looking so disappointed, you three. No one conquered the world on an empty stomach. Third, but full of mood, we returned home. Rupi Masi and uncle retired to their room while I sat in the kitchen staring at the cupboards. The kitchen had way too many spices. I realized twice the number in the kitchen at home. Was it because they were trying to hide the magic ingredient? Maybe using this method to camouflage in it. I went back to staring at the kitchen as if doing that would make the magic ingredient pop out from whatever it was hiding. I suddenly felt empty and lost, wondering what I was doing with my life. Here I was, on this random cat and mouse chase for an ingredient that showed no signs of revealing itself, but I had been constantly thwarted in my chest, but made to work hard for something only to realize that all the work I had put it didn't amount so much. And then my thoughts went back to Niku again, to the start of the journey when we were together, how different it had been then, a true sense of adventure. I remember drinking the terrible whiskey in that bar with him, the crazy woman at the highway dhaba, and the way we ran from there to our Fiat. At least an hour must have passed with me staring at the kitchen in the frustration, unable to move when I heard someone behind me. I don't have the magic ingredient, Rupi Masi said and pulled up a chair. She looked nothing like a woman who had broken down in the bathroom at Vatika. Instead, a calm suddenly enveloped her face. And that's the truth? I asked bluntly. Rupi Masi nodded. We came to this side from Pakistan a few days after your Lalaji and his family left. I was very young at the time, must have been 8 or 9, but there is a big difference between a girl of 8 years now and 8 years then. Your Lalaji was much older, of course, but he had already told me that there was a magic ingredient. He suspected that I went back to find it from Bibi. I was close to her as well, and I was really interested too. All these years, he has been thinking that Kannu and I conspired against him, and we let him think that. We said we know it, but we don't. We never did. But why do you have so many boxes and spices? She said. My husband stocked this in the shop, so I always have variety. I put my head in my hands, but I do know where you might find the magic ingredients, she said. I looked up at her in shock as she smiled widely. You know where I might wear? The ashram. Your Lalaji's always hinted that it grew there, but he never entered that place. It was always full of foreigners wearing these malas, but I wonder, didn't your father go there? The secret gardens? Of course, I should have headed there when Niku told me about them. It made absolute sense. My father's visit to the ashram is proximately to Siaka. A journey only makes sense if the answer lies at home, as Murthy Devi had said. With a pang, I thought of Niku again. I didn't feel like going any further yet and asked Rupi Masi if I could stay with her for a couple of more days. She said yes. It turned out that Kanu Masi had talked to Lalaji a couple of days ago and he had told them about the task, and since both of them had won, Rohit and Mohit also knew at the same time as me about going to the ashram, and I was sure they would be on their ways already. I didn't sleep well that night. My disturbed state of mind didn't allow me the next day. With no more preparation to do for the pageant, I hung around aimlessly. The day after that, I was restless but unable to move. It was then that I heard it, a very familiar voice yelling my name outside the house. So guys, यहाँ पे शायद यहाँ पे हमारा चैप्टर ख़त्म हो रहा है 17। नेक्स्ट वीडियो में मिलते हैं जहाँ पे मैं 18 चैप्टर पढ़ूंगी। थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग एंड डोंट फॉरगेट टू लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब माई चैनल एंड डू कमेंट योर फेवरेट बुक। थैंक्स।